Hey there, it's Sandra, and I wanted to share some information with you about one of our favorite types of wine, and that's sparkling wines. But we frequently get the question at Plenty of Vino, what's the difference between sparkling wines? And the answer is primarily from which the area the wine comes. So let's start with champagne. It can only be champagne if it comes from Champagne, France. So if you go into a store and ask for champagne and they direct you to a Prosecco, then they really didn't show you what you asked for. So let's learn a little bit more about champagne. One of the most beloved champagnes is this. This is a 1973 bottle of which has hand painted flowers. And this Perrier Jouet is one of the most iconic champagnes you can purchase. Still available today. First off, champagne can only come from one place, and that's Champagne, France. It's made from Chardonnay, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Meunier grapes. They are so serious about champagne in France. You cannot even import something with the word champagne on it. Champagne, beer, champagne, that they just don't allow it. And that's because they are steeped in tradition of making sure that anything that has that word on it is authentic and French and from Champagne. The process that they use to create champagne is a process that is traditional, traditional, and the other process, another way to say it is champenoise. After the initial fermentation period, a mixture of yeast and sugar is added to the wine base. It's called liqueur de triage. It then undergoes a secondary fermentation period in the bottle, and that's when the carbonation develops. The carbonation develops during this aging process, and then finally, the spent yeast is removed by a process called disgorgement. And then a small amount of sugar, known as dosage, is added so that it will balance the wine's acidity. When it's time to make your favorite mimosa or Bellini, you can't go wrong with a champagne that you love, or a Prosecco, or a Cava, or a Sect. More on those last two coming up soon. But now let's talk about Prosecco, made with the Grera grape. Prosecco is from Italy. From the Veneto region of Italy, Prosecco, using Grera grapes, is made using the Charmant method, which is a tank method, using a tank, where after it's fermented, it's then transferred to a pressurized tank to continue the fermentation method and develop its bubbles, and at the same time also develop its flavor profile and complexity. After the initial fermentation, the wine base is then transferred in addition to a mixture of yeast and sugar, which then triggers a second fermentation. And it stays there in the tank under pressure while it's developing its flavor and complexity. During this time, carbonation also occurs. And then if it's something that they're going to do to this particular sparkling wine, they will add dosage at this point. Remember, dosage is sugar. And then it's bottled and it will be ready to drink at the period their sommelier deems it's ready. Let's talk about cava. Cava is from the Catalonia region of Spain, and the primary grape varieties that are used for it are Macabeo, Cirillo, and Parellada. I'm sure I didn't say that correctly. Parellada. My Spanish sucks. After the second fermentation in the bottle, cava then goes through a period where it starts to develop its flavor and its complexity. And it's going to sit in with the settlement that is a product of the fermentation process. It's called aging on its lees. And that may take anywhere from 9 months to several years, or until you grab that bottle of cava and pop open that bottle of bubbly for a night at home or a special celebration. The Italians have Franciacorta, which is a high quality sparkling wine that's made in the traditional method, primarily made from Chardonnay grapes, Pinot Noir grapes, and Pinot Blanc. And it's typically done in the traditional method. And then it's got a secondary fermentation on its lees and aged for a period of time to develop its flavor and character. Next up is German sparkling wine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. This sparkling wine is called Sekt, very similar to the German word for the number 6, except it's spelled S-E-K-T. It is made using both methods, both the traditional method as well as the tank method, and they use the grape varieties of Riesling, Pinot Noir, and Pinot Blanc. But if you want it to be called Deutscher Sekt, it must be made using the traditional method. And the traditional method, of course, is the longer process that doesn't involve the pressurized tank. Sekt wines are wines that are produced in both Germany and Austria. To recap, we talked about champagne from France, and then we talked about Prosecco from Italy, Cava from Spain, and Sekt from Germany and Austria. Now, there are lots of other sparkling wines as well, but these are some of the primary ones we'd love for you to try. Plenty of Vino is just here to help you discover. As we learn, we share. Thanks for joining us, and thanks for your support of this small business. A votre sante. That's here's to your health in Italian. Thanks for joining.